Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about how indexing works in Matlab. And so right here I've created a vector called I that has 4 components, 10, 5, 9, and 3. What indexing allows us to do is to call one of the components in this vector at a time. For example, if I needed this number 10, then what I just need to do is to create a new variable for my number and then tell Matlab, go to the vector whose number is I and give me the first entry. Something that's important and a lot of errors that can come up is if this number that you have here is not an integer. You can have I 0.5 or I anything. I can only be an integer that is greater than 0 because it's going to look at the element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4, and so on. They're not organized in ascending order or anything like this. It's just the order in which they were created, each one of the individual elements. So at this point we're telling Matlab, okay, create a variable called A and then assign it the value of the first element of your vector I. Now we can also do operations between these elements just by saying, for example, I2 and then times, for example, I4. What I've seen some people doing that's a mistake is they say, oh, I want 30, so they would say I30. This would come up as an error because we don't have 30 elements in our vector, we only have 4. So then you can do I2, which is going to say B5, and then I4, which is going to be 30. Sometimes we're going to create vectors by doing operations, like in the ODE45 function, which I'm going to show you later, and we're not going to be able to know how big this vector is. So sometimes we just need the endpoint or the maximum point of that vector, and we don't know exactly how big it is. Right now we know it's 4, so we know exactly that 4 is going to be our last number. However, if we did not know that, then and we want the last number in the vector, then we can use the function end. So how this one works is you again give it the name of your vector and then you type the word end. What this is going to do is Matlab is going to go into your I vector and it's going to find the last input, in this case 30. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to find the maximum. Sometimes you'll need the maximum number of a vector just to see where a certain function reaches its highest number. To do that, there is a function called max, and it's different because we're not going to be typing I max. This will not work. The function is called max itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to say max. It's going to tell you find the maximum, and then you give it either a vector or a matrix or more than one matrix or more than one vector. You just want it to find the maximum in any of these cases. So then for this example, I'm going to say max I, which should turn out to be 30 as well. I'm going to get rid of the semicolons here so that we output this information into the command window. And we're going to step through to see how it works. So when we run the first line of code, it's just going to create a vector called I with 4 units. Now we told it, okay, assign a variable A with the first unit of that vector, which is I1, and it gave it a value of 10, so that's good. Now we say B is equal to I2, which is 5, times I4, which is 30, which is 150, and again it created a vector called, it created a scalar called B, and it's 150. Now the really important one for the project is this line here, so it's going to give us just the last number of the vector. This vector can be 1,000 units. It's going to give you that last unit. In this case, it's just our 4th element, which is 30. And then we can also find the maximum, which is also going to be 30, which is the max I. So that's all you need to know for right now about indexing. This is going to be a very important tool when we do more for loops and things like that. So we're going to get back to this very soon. We'll see you in the next video.